So when you were thinking
When I was thinking about it,
how did it go?
it was a difficult decision for me because I feel as if the ideal is to always accept your body no matter what, and I still believe that. But also, I live in this body, and so I wrestled with those questions for a long time. And when I finally made the decision, I think it had a lot more to do with the fact that I liked my body and I liked myself, but I wanted to also give myself a gift. And having strong stomach muscles will keep me healthier as an older woman. So I started looking at surgeons in my area, and I went to 3 different consultations with them. There was no acknowledgement of me as a person. I was a body only. And also the price just was outrageous. It was not something that I could have ever done at home. And so I began looking at other places because I've lived overseas, and I know that oftentimes medical services in other countries can even be better than in my home. I looked in Thailand, and I looked here because I had a friend recommend Turkey. I've never been here. And I think I maybe talked to a few people in Portugal. And so throughout this process, which actually took a couple months, I took a long time, I would choose a country, and then I'd research the medical system, and then I'd talk to people. I just found that you and your team were the most responsive, the most human, and could understand when I was afraid or nervous. And I thought that because I'm entrusting my life to these people, not just my life or death, I mean, surgery is a risk, right? But the quality of my life after. If something goes wrong with my body, then I have to live with that forever. The price was less important than knowing I could be with people that cared, that knew I was a person too. So.
So you contacted us?
I did.
And you started to feel
The interactions were knowledgeable and prompt and kind.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's why I made the choice I did.
So what was like the factors you considered before making the decision?
I needed to know, first was the personal interaction was the first factor. The second was if I could see the level of knowledge or care. And you had told me that I can't do so many, and to me that was a sign that you were more concerned with my well-being than, pleasing me endlessly. And also the general location, what is the medical service like in the area and things like that. I think those were my factors. Price came last. So that with my life, if I cannot afford to do it safely, I shouldn't be doing it.
So what were you expecting before coming?
Mm-hmm.
Like when going to the airport? You packed your bags and
Yeah.
then went to the airport. So in your mind, you were expecting what? And when you arrived, what you found?
Man, it all happened so fast.
Okay.
I was expecting, because of the reviews I had read, that you would be kind. I did not expect you to be so attentive and so complete. Everything was complete already for me. It was a stressful time, and it was as easy as walking into a situation with absolute professionals who knew what they were doing, who knew already what I would need, even when I didn't know, who understood how to navigate the system and the issues I had. And so I got so much more than I expected.
So you arrived at Istanbul, picked you up. So, like, you started to feel relieved, you started to feel at home,
Yeah.
or how was it?
The night before, I was scared before I left because it's such a strange, big thing to do. But the night before, after I had met you, I wasn't scared. And going to the hospital the next day, I was maybe a little bit nervous until I met with Dr. Murat, and he just knew what he was doing. It was okay. So I wasn't even scared. I thought I would be terrified, but I wasn't.
Okay, so let's speak about the most important part, the doctor, the surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about your experience. Like when you first met him,
Mm-hmm.
when you had the consultation, the drawings, the plannings, everything. Please tell me your experience with Dr. Murat.
I was impressed with his knowledge and with his confidence, with the time that he took to talk to me, to ask me what I wanted, but also to explain to me what is possible, what are the outcomes, so that I had no delusions about what would happen. He took so much time in the consultation, and he even told me, this is the most important part, and it was. That was the most important part. So I felt confident going into the surgery.
So after that, you had the surgery, you woke up, and that's the second important part of it,
Mm-hmm.
was the aftercare.
Yes.
So tell me please about it.
My first memory is you at the foot of the bed. As somebody asked me how I felt. And I think I remember feeling a little bit of pain, but I know you took care of it right away. It didn't last very long. I wasn't awake enough to know what happened, but it was solved so fast, and I was comfortable very quickly. I remember being cared for because I was also cold. I think my next memory is when I stopped being cold and you offered to turn down the heat for me, which was kind, but I liked it then. I felt I had never been to surgery before, so I didn't know what to expect. But you had explained it all to me beforehand, so there were no surprises. I didn't feel surprised by it. I felt like it was a very cool experience I got to have,
Good.
and I felt safe.
So for the 2-3 nights you spent in the hospital, how would you describe it? Like everything? The hospital?
The
staff,
hospital
everything.
was immaculately clean. The staff was attentive. They made an effort to communicate with me. I never felt left alone or forgotten. They were organized, and I work in a hospital, so I was impressed with this hospital. I felt that their standards were quite high and that they cared about communicating with their patients.
Okay, that's great. So the hotel?
The hotel's gorgeous.
Okay.
And it's right by the sea, which is, for me, one of the most healing things. I like to walk down to the ocean. The food is good. The views are incredible. I have found that the staff is very kind. When they realized that I maybe wasn't moving so well, they took extra time to help me. And even everything from the cleaning staff would come in and hand me my meds so I didn't have to get out of bed. To there was someone in room service who would even help me brush my hair because I was struggling with putting my arms up. Doing this as a person alone, I didn't have a companion. Those things are more important than I can say. That kindness and that companionship was wonderful.
Right. How about the organization, the transfers?
Yeah.
How do you?
You guys were very organized. I was impressed. I felt as if there was no lack. And that if there was something that was going to be slightly different, you were very clear with your communication. There was no surprises, so it was good.
So about the massage session that you have?
That was such a nice treat. the massage made me feel so much better, and I think I could sit up straighter. It made me a little bit tired after, but it was a good tired. It wasn't a bad tired. And the physical therapist was professional and knowledgeable and told me why it works and how it works, and every step of the way what he was doing. He talked to me about it.
So in general, like let's say out of 10, how would you rate your experience?
This has been a 12. I've loved it.
That.
It's been good for me, both in many surprising ways. I think it wasn't just a surgery, it was an experience. And one of the things that I'm left with that surprised me is that as a person who was nervous about the morality of changing my body so drastically, the thing that I have come away with is that I'm happy with my new look, but more than that, I'm happy with the connections I made and the people. And going through this surgery has also shown me how strong my body is, and that I could have been happy with it either way, but this experience was so good for me that I'm very grateful.
How would you describe him? Like, what was the reason you picked him after meeting him, after having the surgery, in the checkups, everything? Like in general, how would you describe Dr. Murat?
I think primarily I chose him based off the pictures that I saw. I could tell that he did good work that had, it was more than just an operation. It was like he understood that people also want to be made art. There was artistry to what he did. And having only communicated with you, I assumed that a doctor who had an assistant and a team like this had to be a pretty good doctor. So those were some of the factors before I met him. When I met him, like I said, he was kind and knowledgeable and was not in a rush to make money. He was in a rush to make sure that I understood what was happening and that he understood what I wanted. And I did have a hematoma, and it was painful. You were responsive immediately, and so was the doctor. And I was surprised by how quickly he understood what was happening, how kind he was about fixing it, how effective he was about fixing it. There's been no problem since. It was almost like it didn't happen. It was scary at the time, but also having you guys there when I was in pain, I just trusted that it would be okay.
So let's say if you want to advise anyone who's interested in having surgery abroad, what or who will you recommend?
This is your life. Please understand that it's not about money, that it's about the care of you and yourself, and this involves your future as well. And it's not it's drastic, but you could not survive the surgery. But also, if there's a bad outcome, how will you live in your body after? This affects everything about who you are and your future. So take your time, and understand that it's more important to go with someone you trust than it is to find a good price point in your budget.